Says that we are live. So, hello everyone. And here we have Dima and Nikolai here with me. My name is Emil, for those who don't know. Make sure, please, to send some sort of a message in the chat to tell us that you see us and that everything is working. And tell us where you're coming from. We really enjoy every time seeing like different countries that people are joining from in the chat. We have already David here. Hey, David, how you doing? The old timer.
David is his number one fan. He's always count on it.
yes, he is.
Started once, never can stop.
Yeah. Hello everyone who has been joining. We have here Michael. We have Pratmesh, Atharva. Sorry if I mispronounce it, but really thank you for coming. Where is Novu? All right. Novu probably is somewhere on other events. But yeah, you stuck with us now. So in today's stream and in today's office hour session, we just will start. And for all of you who will see it sometime later on demand, you could just skip around and make sure to consume the parts that you really care about. But again, for all of you who actually came here and joined us live, we're really grateful for you and we're really happy to see you here. Today, we're going to discuss the two recent releases that we had, the 0.20 and the 0.21. I'm not sure if we have already the release notes for the 0.20. Do we, Dima?
Not yet. We're still in the draft mode, so soon I believe in the next couple of days we're going to create the first. But I can touch a bit more of the
amazing
the top items. There's 21 was a bit of a smaller release. We just created a major bump because we have released one of the features that was previously under a feature flag. So we kind of removed the feature flag and now it's generally available for people. So that's one of the reasons we kind of made this a very quick release after release session. So yeah, that's it.
Got it. All right, so we're going to go by some sort of a chronological order. So let's jump and walk through the 0.20 release and see what's new. And I'm reminding everyone who is like, if any one of you want to ask something that you would like us to address during the stream, any questions, even feedback, please make sure to put it in the chat so we could address that once we have the opportunity in the window. All right, so Dima, I'm enabling your screen now.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so as the GIF says, let's dive in.
Nice one.
That's Prosper with his magic. I think we have this competition internally, like the best GIF finder. Usually Prosper is, and I think Emily, you're right under like in the same competition, trying fighting for it.
I'm on the competition. I'm not really in the race. I'm only trying.
Yes, same here. Yeah, so I think we can touch a few things that this release covers, and the first one of them is something that has been requested quite a lot by community members, and this is basically providing a global subscriber preference API, which not only allowing to control on the actual workflow level, but the ability to say, hey, I don't want to get email communication at all, or I want to get only like SMS or push or something like this. And this was very useful for people who were looking to create a bit more of a centralized kind of toggles for specific behavior when the user doesn't want to see any of those workflows in his channel. And instead of going one by one, kind of turning them off, basically we're providing now the ability for uh, um, both the headless library and the actual hook support to fetch the global preferences and actually use them and switch them and toggle off them, depending on uh, how it works. And one last note, again, if a notification is in a critical state, it will basically be ignored. So it will be still delivered even if the user has decided to turn off emails. So all the critical notifications would still be executed and received by the user. This is the global channel preference process subscriber API. We plan to provide also the support for the actual embedded component. And this is something we will be kind of iterating over it a bit in the future, but this is for now specifically for people who are using a custom implementation of the UI, can go and utilize this new API. And shout out to Biswa Viraj from our team, who is not here. I'm not sure if he's watching, but props to Biswa for helping with the implementation and working with our community members over the final API and the design of it. Another thing we have recently added is the ability to actually filter some of the delay or digest nodes on the fly. Why is it helpful? In some cases, you do not want to perform a digest or you do not want to wait at a given time. And previously, you kind of didn't have an option to actually cancel or dynamically control if you would love to do a delay or a digest as part of the workflow. And right now, what we have added is actually the ability to add filters on the individual action nodes, which was previously not possible. And now, basically, what you can do is you can say, hey, only execute this digest node if a specific reference was enabled for the user or some custom property or some other event you can pass in the payload data as part of the event. So it creates a bit more flexibility on utilizing a single workflow and creating a bit more dynamic approach to when execute specific nodes and create specific behavior and when we shouldn't use a delay, for example. So this is the filters expansion to other nodes inside the system, which we are really excited to see. We have worked, I don't have the image here, but we basically worked in improving all the error messaging for the provider configurations. So basically providing the ability to see what is wrong with a given node in case you haven't configured an email provider or you haven't configured a push provider in your system and you're still trying to utilize a specific email or sorry, a specific node inside of the actual workflow. And we have provided a much more detailed error messaging and on the actual nodes, you can actually see what is properly configured and what needs a bit more of an attention from you when you're creating these workflows. What else? Another thing that we have kind of improved the support for is around the overrides API. And in some cases, people would love to pass custom data to providers like SendGrid, and this can be utilized with their analytics API down the road, or just utilizing some variables as part of dynamic templates. So we expanded the functionality for the custom data endpoint for SendGrid specifically, and we will expand this to other providers in the future. But basically, you can now pass custom object that will deliver directly to the SDK of SendGrid during the message delivery and sending of the email.
Can you please elaborate slightly more, kind of with the use case maybe for
Yes.
this part?
Yeah, so there are a few different use cases for this. The first one, SendGrid basically allows you to pass custom data that will be used as part of the webhook response back, or you can pass some custom attributes basically when you're sending an email. And you can use those properties if you are utilizing still, for some of our customers, it's still working with the actual templates from SendGrid so they can utilize custom attributes inside of them. This is one use case. Another use case is basically when the notification will be sent on SendGrid, and the webhook response will come back to Novu, we can actually access this data on the response query if a user has opened the email or it was bounced and so on. So it's just a convenience of attaching some properties to the actual email, which you can later use to do some logic or behavior for it. And for the current use case that we also seen is, again, utilizing the dynamic templates of SendGrid and basically allow Novu to pass some custom attributes that will be delivered to it.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that we have recently introduced is SMS override. So basically, you can override the different attributes, and there are multiple of them, and there is a bit more in-depth documentation in the actual API ref, but you can override some specific either content or the to address when sending an SMS message if you would need to dynamically control it as part of the trigger endpoint. This was previously only available on channels like email and I think also for push, but we have also expanded this to support the SMS provider deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
Well, moving on to integrations, and recently we have introduced another improvement, and this is following the multi-provider configuration support, is actually the ability to create conditions for when a particular integration should be executed. And this is a bit also connected to the tenant management we discussed, I think, in the previous office hours here together. So you can basically attach a specific provider to a given tenant inside the system. So let's say you're in a multi-tenant system and you would have all of your tenants send emails using SendGrid. And for a very specific tenant in your system, you would love to use their own dedicated email provider or utilize, based on compliance, a European provider or APEC-based provider or any other provider, basically. So you can create those overrides based on the actual tenant attributes. So if when executing, you're executing in the context of a given tenant, we can actually use a very specific provider instead of the default primary provider specified inside the system. We're going to expand the conditions part of it to allow creating conditions on other parts of attributes, things like subscriber or payload metadata. So you can basically in runtime control which provider will be executed and which provider will be selected to send a particular message to a particular subscriber.
I saw one message today. It was a question regarding like if you can, like how you can combine or group subscribers, and for a group of subscribers to use a particular tenant. So like what my answer and my thought was that you can assign a topic to a tenant. Is that right?
So we are looking at two different things, and basically tenancy is a way to group functionality and to create this a bit of a custom styling or behavior to the existing Novo experience. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, you can create custom overrides for a specific step inside Novo, or you can change the email content based on that, or you can select a different provider. And basically with tenancy, this allows you basically to control the different aspects of the Novo experience in the context of a given tenant. We do
Mm-hmm.
not allow assigning subscribers to tenants in a sense because we do not want to get into the internal management structures of your users. So as you suggested, if the need is to actually group subscribers for broadcasting purposes, the use will be to actually create a topic and then assign subscribers. And it can be different levels. That's why we kind of didn't went in this path, because in the end, you might want to send a notification to all of your tenant subscribers. You can do that, for example, with only the admins or with a group of users or a subset of group of users. It creates a lot of complexity layers in that sense that also a subscriber can be part of multiple tenants inside the system. So basically, the subscribers do not directly correlate with a given tenant. And for grouping purposes and the notification delivery purposes, basically a topic can be used to group by any logic different subscribers to easily send and broadcast a message to them.
Okay, I think I got it.
All right. What else? Awesome. One community contribution, which I think I'm not sure if it was Michal, which might be here also on on this thing. So I've seen his handle here on the comments. I'm pretty sure he was the one who has been working on this. I need to double check, but basically we have been adding a new Mailtrap email provider integration with somebody from the community creating the pull request for it, and I thought it was a really good suggestion and idea because we also use Mailtrap internally for testing purposes and kind of end-to-end testing actual email delivery. And for who is not familiar with Mailtrap, is basically an email delivery platform for email testing. Basically, what you can do is you can just make end-to-end tests of email delivery, and this is a really cool project. We actually also use it for doing the tests end-to-end with email delivery behind the scenes, and it was a great addition to actually expose this as a provider, so you can actually utilize something like Mailtrap in your dev environment, and then use something in the production that will be a different provider for this given environment. And Mailtrap is really cool. Check them out. I know that they also provide like a more classical email delivery platform, but they have a great testing SDK and testing suite for actually testing end to end the delivery of messages. That's highly recommend checking them out.
So basically, this is a testing provider.
Yes, this is a testing provider. I know they actually do like an actual email delivery as well from the recent months, but this can be used for either one. Also for testing, because you can later query the actual inbox with their API to easily see the user inbox and basically fetch the email content and do the assertions based on that. So that's a very, very neat way of testing testing the actual email delivery. That's really cool. And combining this a bit later in conditions. So what we can do in the future is also say, okay, only use Mailtrap if a payload property equals like testing true, right? So we only use Mailtrap in those cases, and all the other ones will use SendGrid. So this is kind of how conditions can be connected to different setups with providers, and I think it's really
nice. Sounds very neat. Yeah.
We have ClickSend as a new SMS provider added, and there have been a bunch of other upgrades and changes as part of this release. There is a lot of bugs that was provided. There is a lot of Oktoberfest contributions also here, so you can see the list is quite high, and we have a lot of
longer than usual.
Yeah, and we have also a lot of new contributors. So welcome to the community. Thank you so much for participating. And I think this version was cut in the beginning of Oktoberfest, and it's quite a lot of people has been involved as part of this release, and you can see the full list as part of our release notes. So we have almost 33 people participating in this new version release. So that's really fantastic to see.
Amazing.
And for version 21, so there has been a couple of really interesting items happening there. First one is support for idempotency. And idempotency basically allows users to provide an idempotency key as part of the request. And we will actually guarantee that this request was not executed twice. So this is useful when there is like a network error or a connection error. So you will not make the same request or deliver the same notification twice. So basically, we will lock the actual request in this given time period, and you cannot make the same request twice with the same idempotency key to the system. So this is the big part of it was kind of the initial specification was created by our team internally, and later on, somebody from the community kind of took the effort, and with the help of Zach and Pablo, and I think also Richard was involved in the process of it. So we will basically provide the docs on the API reference about the idempotency work, but the general note is that you will be able to pass an idempotency header, and then Novu will actually not execute the same request twice if it was received there.
Where does where does the user or me as a user will encounter the idempotency ID?
So usually what you would do is you will manage your own on your own area, like some sort of a unique trigger. This can be a combination of the user with some task that it is this request involves, but it must be a unique combination of something. And basically, let's say you're sending a notification. with an idempotency key, and we have received your request, and something for some reason there has been a timeout from the network, or your server has been shut down, and basically you don't know if we process this request or not process this request, and you don't want your users to actually receive this notification twice or make an API call. So basically, if you will try to send the same notification with the same idempotency key, and it's going to be on all of our post methods in the API. So it's not only for trigger, it's for all the other API endpoints we have, specifically for the post and put methods in them. So it is very useful just to guarantee that you will not be executing something twice. And
is it going to be a required?
It is an optional. It is an optional key, so it's not required if your use case is simple and you don't worry too much about it. But for production grade systems, it's definitely a nice addition to have. Again, it's an optional thing. You don't have to use it for everything. You can only use it for specific endpoints that you need to guarantee that they will not be executed twice from the Novu side. So that's the idempotency.
Got it.
Right. So there's been a question about the gotchas when upgrading self-hosted implementation in V20. There hasn't been any breaking changes as part of the V20 support. There will be in version 21, and this is mostly due to the removal of the feature flag for the multi-provider configuration. It should be working kind of out of the box with the general functionality, but if you would love to use more than one provider, we'll provide the actual things needed to be run and the scripts that needed to be run. I don't think there should be something breaking in there, but some guides will be provided of how to adapt to the new multiple provider configuration. Some of our users has already enabled it with the feature flagged on. If since I think versions 0.17, it was under a feature flag. But in 21, we are basically releasing the feature flag and we are making it available for everyone. So this is going to be part of it. Let's see what else interesting in there. There has been some improvements over the worker functionality and the readiness service. So basically, the worker, specifically if you're deploying Novu in a multi-worker scenario, so if you need to scale the workers to process more notifications or less, we have created a bit more robust system to realize if the worker is actually ready to process messages, if all the connections to Redis has been performed and it's actually stable and ready, and he can actually start to receive new notifications and process them, which is something we have quite improved in this area. There will be much more updates from the community, and a lot of providers added, from what I remember, some new languages and other parts of the system that has been improved since then. I believe that in the next couple of days we will see the final release notes with all the items, and we will publish it officially, basically, on our Discord and GitHub.
Yeah, we will. So okay, we do have a question here. I'm not sure if you address that or not, Dima.
The Mongo thing, yeah. So Mark, basically what will happen is that it should be already part of 0.20. It should be also in the release notes. I just need to find it in the all changes section. But yes, you can specify the mean the mean Mongo connection pool size as part of the 20 version. So the default we also removed quite significantly the default values, but now you can also control it from your end to even go further down or further up when deploying.
All right. So meanwhile, if anyone else would like to ask anything in the chat, so we could address that in the stream, please do so. But I do want to ask you, Dima, about the plans and what we could expect from on the next release, and what you and the team are working on currently.
Yeah, so there is a lot of work focused around the translation management project that we are currently working on. This is something that has been in the works for the last couple of weeks with the team, and prior to that with design and customer collaborations and kind of getting feedback around it. So this is something that is still in progress. We're still pushing the efforts too. We have a lot of the backend work finalized, so we're focusing a lot around the content editing areas and the actual translations usage in
Mm-hmm.
the content creation flow. So this is one part of it. We will be focusing also around the onboarding experience and kind of revamping a bit more of what happens in the first couple of days of using Novu, and not only also what happens when you want to create a new provider, integrate a new provider. So this is something we are currently looking, and trying to collect as much feedback as we can for this area. And in case somebody wants to kind of jump and provide us a bit, we have a lot of feedback that is coming in from different community members over email and over Discord, which we are collecting, and we are going over it meticulously and kind of trying to create a bit more cohesive picture of this. But if somebody wants to jump and give his latest, I would say, experience with the onboarding flow, feel free to reach out over Discord, and we can schedule maybe a quick call with me, with Nikolai, and to kind of review it together and to be part of the next changes we plan to do in this section.
Absolutely. And I also want to remind everyone that we still have the roadmap page that's going, and where you can help us at least by upvoting certain features and certain things that you are interested in and you are interested us to prioritize. So you can navigate to the product lane page on our novu.co website. If you will scroll down, you can see the roadmap section. Just click on it and it will navigate you to the page where you can just upvote or even suggest new features. And I can assure you that the team, especially Nikolai here and Dima, are constantly going over all the feedback and are congregating all the inputs that we are receiving in order to just sculpture this huge thing that's called Novo.
Thanks,
So yeah, it's a big
thanks,
thing.
thanks for highlighting that, because I was going just to highlight it on my own that it's super valuable when uh, you post your thoughts, you post your desire, like requests, feature requests, also upvoting on some of the features. Uh, Me and Dima constantly researching what we need to improve and what we need to do, and we already collected some of the features you upvoted, and we plan to ship them before the end of this year. And I remember that some of you are waiting for the organization's drop-down improvements and features such like that. So don't hesitate to go there and upvote. We discovering your requests.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I want to thank Dima here and Nikolai for coming and joining and sharing their insights and going over the recent releases. And again, I'm also thanking all of you who joined and decided to participate in this live event. It's something that we do every 3 weeks. So if you have any questions that maybe you would like us to address, not kind of by using the chat and write the things because you are concentrating on what we are saying and trying to follow up, you can also submit. We every time we publish this event, we also publishing a link to submit a form, which is basically a Google form where you can type your question or your suggestion for this event, where before we actually start and going live, we go over, and that's our way to make sure that the thing that you would like us to add to the agenda, we could do it. So don't hesitate to use this as well. Um, And on that note, make sure to join our Discord server if you're still not a part of it. We are active there. You can ask your questions there. We have the support channel. And we are there always to hear your feedback, to help you with everything that we can. And thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you.